Get started here with David Teal.
Brad, you went 11-1 against a non-conference schedule that is very highly regarded. You're the only team to win at Alabama this season, but your conference record's not quite as good as it was a year ago. Does that reflect the strength of this conference this season?
Yeah, I think the league is really good. I don't understand the narrative. I really don't. I think there's some things that teams do in other leagues in the non-conference scheduling to bolster up their records and some of the net numbers. And then by the time you get to conference play, I think that some of that has it just elevates their teams maybe a little higher than they are. I don't know that our league really does that. Obviously it's something we need to look at. But I think our league is really good and very deep. And there's a lot of really good players and coaches, and winning is hard. And obviously we're experiencing that this year.
The game Saturday seemed to be one where Joe might have been a little too ready, too emotional, but yet he seemed to handle it perfectly. He didn't force shots and seemed to play within the flow, and then got the 2,000th point. How perfect did that turn out for you guys?
Yeah, it was surreal. Unbelievable to think that he scored his 2,000th point while he was, playing in the dome there. Couldn't have worked out any better, certainly for us with the win, and for him to make big free throws down the stretch to do it. I think he handled it very well. He's a very mature young man. Certainly a lot of distractions with just family and friends and all of that, and just all the emotion that you have when you come back to a place like that. For him to play as well as he did, as efficiently as he did, I think just speaks to his maturity and obviously the quality of his play.
Go next to Royal Howell.
Good morning, Coach. How are we doing this morning?
Great, thank you.
Coach, this past week you had two impressive wins on the road in hostile environments. What do you want to see from your ball club going forward this week ahead to build off that momentum and solidify a higher seed within the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, just consistent good play. We've last week was a great week for us. I thought we attacked both games. I thought we did a nice job getting off to good starts. And then we really finished the games. Both games were tied with right around 4 minutes to go, and our guys made a lot of winning plays down the stretch on both ends, and I think that was significant. We've lost a couple of close ones here at home. Finishing the game strong would be a nice thing for us to do here in Littlejohn.
David Hood, go ahead, sir.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, good morning. Going back to those two games last week, it was almost like watching the same game. Kind of, you jump out to a big lead, the home team comes back and ties it late, and then somehow your team just powers through. You don't have to call a timeout after a tie, and veteran players take over. What has allowed this team, even though there's been some adversity, to be able to win like that and make plays like that on the road when needed?
Good players. I mean, that's at the end of the day, players have to make plays. We have good players. I thought we did what we needed to do in both games, got the ball to good positions, executed well in some actions and some offense in both games. I thought defensively, we just kind of, we really stood up for the most part. We had a little stretch there, a couple possessions where we made a mistake against Syracuse. But North Carolina, we stood up. I thought we made the other team take some tough shots. But it's just having older guys that still believe, play with poise. We've lost some close games. We've won some close games this year. Certainly those are two really good ones. Some of that happens in basketball, but just being able to sustain, continue to play with confidence, believe in each other, believe in what we're doing, and then having the ability to knock down big shots and big plays when you need them.
Looking ahead to Miami really fast, It just seems like I didn't go back and look at the scores, but it just seems like Clemson and Miami is always going to be within a few points going down into that final minute. Why is that these two teams always seem to play these really close, tight games?
Yeah, that's generally been the case. Maybe not as much at Miami this year. They pulled away from us at the end. I don't know. I just think it's very competitive series. I think both teams have good players and really execute. Coach Larinaga and I coached against each other a million times. There's not a lot of surprises. The game usually comes down to the last 4 or 5 minutes, and the players on the other team or whichever team make the plays down the stretch usually win. So I don't really know that there's anything unique about that, but it's just been you're right, that has been very close games for many years now.
Back to David Teal.
Brad, I imagine as a coach, you have little time for social media, but there was a photo from the Carolina game that went viral of PJ squatting there, comforting Harrison Ingram after they had both gone down. And what did that speak to PJ and how he is? And
Yeah, I mean, I've said this a million times, PJ's one of the nicest kids I've coached. Genuinely cares about people. Even cares about his coach, which is nice. And so that doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, there are times in games when I'm a little bit more like, hey man, we need to try to knock that dude down instead of trying to pick him up. You know what I mean? In games, I challenge him on that occasionally. But I say that in that he has tremendous respect for opponents. He's going to play hard. He's going to try to do what he can do to win. But he's a very caring person. I mean, he really is. I mean, it's genuine. He just cares about people, and whether it's in a game, whether it's out on the road, we've had situations where he's helped people, and after games fixing a flat tire. I mean, it's just who PJ Hall is. He's an unbelievable kid, and in that moment, it didn't surprise me in the least that he, reached down because he did think maybe something happened to Harrison, and that's the last thing that any of us would want.
Noah Fleischman, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I know some coaches don't like to look ahead, but Saturday you'll face NC State, and Ben Middlebrook will come back to Clemson. What's it been like, seeing him, kind of carve out a role at